Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. If you're just joining us, I try to do a tool review around here, I don't know, every couple weeks or so. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. And today we're actually going to be unboxing a new tool. And that is because the topic we're going to discuss is just kind of hot right now, and a lot of people may have questions on their mind and things like that about it. I thought I would throw my 2 cents in the ring and show you maybe another approach you could take if you wanted to. And the topic at hand we're going to discuss today is the recall on Harbor Freight jack stands, like this guy over here. That guy is not subject to the recall. That guy is so much older than the recalled ones. He's like a distant third grandpa from the stuff they're selling today. And if you're unfamiliar with the Harbor Freight recall, I'll throw the recall notice down in the description so you can go read about it. But the short answer is basically there were some manufacturing problems on the teeth on some of their jack stands, and they aren't jack stands anymore. They're just Widowmakers. But the whole Harbor Freight recall kind of brought my attention back to something that's been on my mind for a while, and that is basically Chinese jack stands in general, and what else is there to buy? And after conducting some research, it turns out that there really isn't a whole lot else you can buy, at least in the US. Maybe there's some stuff made in Europe or something like that that's on the market there that I can't buy here, but pretty much all I could find are these guys. What I want to look at today is what we get for our money when we buy jack stands that are not from China. These guys right here are from these guys, US Jack. As near as I can tell, these are the only jack stands and floor jacks and stuff like that that are made in the United States, and they charge handsomely for them. So right off the bat, because every unboxing I've ever seen more or less sounds like a commercial, I'm going to level 2 criticisms at these things right away. And they're small criticisms. I haven't even opened the box. We'll see what we get. But the first one is they are very expensive. These are 6-ton jack stands, which US Jack is one of the few companies that rates their stands individually, so it's weird. So as you compare these to other stuff on the market, these are actually the same as 12-ton jack stands. These are 6 tons a piece. But even at that, this was almost $200 shipped to my door. Even against other premium offerings on Amazon from Chinese companies, I would say these are at least 50% more money than the other good ones. And obviously the hope is we're getting what we're paying for, but we'll find out. The second thing is US Jack's website, at least the consumer portal, meaning where guys like you and I would go buy our stuff, absolutely sucks. They basically are not set up to sell to individuals. You have to hunt and work and henpeck around to try and find where to go to actually buy these things on their site. And that is because for the most part, these guys sell to the US government or US military contractors. So their big customers are places like BAE Systems and Lockheed Martin. So they aren't necessarily in business to attract guys at home. So if nothing else, if everything else I say in this video is just me oohing and ahhing over how great I think these things are, right off the bat I've got 2 bad things to say, is their website sucks and these things are really expensive. Hopefully we get what we pay for, and websites are made to be updated. Maybe if we get enough traction behind this, these guys will see, hey, guys at home want to buy good stuff too, and they'll cater a little more to us. So that's about enough preliminary rambletron. Let's get the unboxing unboxed and see what we actually have inside. I absolutely hate box staples, but I understand why they exist. It's primarily to rip my hand open later, so I always just pull them out and throw them away. All right, see if anything jumps out. All right, well, it looks like we've got instructions. And it looks like I was wrong. I believe in the past these used to be rated individually, but now they are rated per pair. So this 6-ton pair I've got here would be 6 ton per the pair, so 3 tons a piece. Which for me isn't really a big deal, but I don't think that's how they used to be, so something that changed. Either way, they are supposed to be built hell for stout, and they weigh enough. That's a heavy doozy right there. Let's get his friend out of here. Oof. And there they are, broken free of their box. It's actually pretty nice that they changed their ratings for these to be 6 ton per pair, because then they are exactly comparable to my Lauren stand over here. These are also a 6-ton jack stand. You can see right off the hop, or at least I can, that the bases on them are quite a bit bigger. Their resting height is taller. I'm hoping that their fully raised position is approximately the same as the Laurens, because I'd kind of like to use them in tandem until I can afford more of these guys, should I decide I like them. But for now, let's get that shrink wrap off of there and take a better look. So I got them out of their protective condoms, and I see a few things I like and a few things I don't right off the bat. But before we get into all that, we need to talk about what is probably the biggest difference between the US Jack jacks and pretty much any other ratcheting jack you're going to see on the market. And that is that rather than rely on one of these pins that ratchets up and down that actuates the paw, they actually have a double lock mechanism in here that's basically impossible to accidentally release the way you might be able to release one of these. I'll explain. The way a typical ratcheting jack stand works is when you pull this up, there's a ratchet paw in here that engages the teeth, and that's what was wrong with the Harbor Freight stands, is those teeth were too shallow. When that happens, this arm actuates up and down, like so, and then to release the jack, you just pull the arm up. Well, the problem is that you can bump these arms and accidentally get them to release. I've actually seen guys demonstrate this with cars that are pretty lightweight, like Miatas and like Triumph Spitfires and stuff like that. There's actually not enough weight on the top of the stand to prevent this handle from moving up. Plus, these ratchets are safety pinned in, and the intent here is that these pins are supposed to break off from the paw if you try to do that, so that that doesn't happen. So then the handle is just free to rotate and this paw stays put, but that's not always the case. And you can actually see on my actual Harbor Freight stand, that pin is a solid pin. It's not even a roll pin like it is in these Larens, which is probably what it's supposed to be. So this is one of those things you see a lot in Chinese manufacturing, especially older Chinese manufacturing, like these things are 15 years old by now, is they do stuff like this, but they don't know why they're doing it. They probably don't understand that this pin is actually supposed to be a safety feature. Maybe the newer stands are that way, but I don't know. Especially given the reputation as of late, I don't intend to truly find out. I think I'm probably going to move on with stuff that I feel is higher quality. And that brings us to these guys. There is a ratcheting paw in here, but there are two paws, and they actuate inward and outward. And you should be able to see that as I lift this up. You can see that handle moves in and out instead of that long lever arm going up and down. So to release these, you pull it out, and it doesn't want to release right now because there's no weight and stuff on it, and I'm one-handed. Trust me, they operate smoothly, I've done it. But what you're seeing is actually the entire idea of those two pins, is so that you can't cock this thing or anything like that to get it to release. You actually have to do it all intentionally. I'll go with the old two-hand job to see if I can get it. There we go. Now it drops. And they have some pictures on their website of both those ratcheting paws in there that I'll drop in the video. But other than where these things are from, that's the biggest difference between this guy and this guy as far as I'm concerned. The teeth are also way deeper on the US Jack versus my Larens here. And I'm using the Larens as an example and not the Harbor Freights because I don't think it matters. I think that the stuff you get from China probably doesn't matter where it comes from because it's probably all made in the same place. And plus these stands are of the same rating. This is a 6-ton set, that's a 6-ton set. Let me see if I can more clearly illustrate for you guys what I'm saying on the tooth size. Okay, so there's my Laren. Comes up 220 inches. Let's try the US Jack. It comes up almost 300. So there's almost 3/4 of an inch more tooth engagement, plus 2 teeth are engaging on these guys versus a conventional ratcheting paw. And that is primarily why I bought these and why I like this design. Before I wrap up the comparisons on these two, I just kind of wanted to see what they would look like next to each other fully extended, and they're analogous to one another. Metal gauges and everything on them are about the same. The beam on this guy is wider than this guy, but this guy's thicker, so they're about the same size. So really, as far as intended function at the end of the day, I think these pretty much duplicate each other, which for my purposes is what I wanted because I more or less wanted a set of 4 of these larger ones, and now I have them. And if I end up liking these long term, I'll probably buy 2 more of them. So now on to these guys. One thing I just noticed about them that's really cool that I don't know if I knew before I ordered them or not, is that it's actually not possible to disengage this even with no weight on them. That's why I was struggling earlier. These teeth have a profile into them, and so does the paw. It's hard to see. You can just see it right there. The paw actually scoops up at the end, and the tooth is made opposite of that. So you cannot release these once they're engaged without picking up on this guy. And that's how they're intended to work. So once you have those guys set, they're pretty much positively locked, and I like that a lot. Now let's get on to something I don't like. I'll preface this with something that sounds weird. These castings, this is a casting, this is a casting, are beautiful, but the problem is they're as cast. So you see this big casting line right down the middle of this thing? That's a ridge that anything you set on it is going to be resting on. So anything you set right there is going to be teetering on that ridge. That's probably not the end of the world, but I sure would have liked to have seen them cut that off, sand it off, grind it off, whatever, before it made it to me, before it got through powder coating and everything else, which, speaking of, these are powder coated, and the powder coating is also very nice. The other issue is where that ridge is actually a parting line. So the tool that makes these closes around both sides of them, and then to get it out, the tool opens up. Well, the problem with that is to be able to get the tool out, these have to be angled. So there's a draft angle on each side of these. So even if that line were just machined off, these would still have a slope down each side. And they're probably about an inch, inch and a quarter thick. So I don't really feel like it would give you a problem, but I would really like to not see it at all. I would have really liked to have seen this be machined completely flat, except for your axle tube divot. You know, that's something you want in a jack stand. And I feel like for what these cost, they could have probably afforded to do that. Or frankly, if I'm in for a pound, I'm in for a penny at this price point, you know, charge me another 20 bucks and mill those down nicely for me. But as a casting, these are beautiful. I would have just liked to seen them touch that up. We have the same thing going on in the ratchet paw, where we've got this parting line. Down here, it's just ugly. At this price point, I would have just liked to have seen them take some sandpaper to that and just wing that casting flash off of there, just to show me a little bit more that this is a premium product and not just a premium name. And what's particularly odd about that casting line and the draft and everything is that the Harbor Freight and the Lauren don't have it. These are also as cast, but they're smooth. There's no casting line here. They're also not machined. So the tool only closed on one face of this and then opened on the other side is probably what happened there. But yeah, they don't have any of that flash on them. And if the US jacks were just painted, I might be tempted to just grind it off myself and repaint them, but they're powder coated and I really don't want to affect that. These guys are painted. You could do whatever you wanted to them, but I've never felt that I needed to. And you can see they've both got plenty of hard wear over the years and have been serving me well. But that's for sure one place I'd like to see these improve is I'd like to see this kind of stuff gone, and I would like this to be machined flat. And like I said before, I'm not afraid of paying for it. Kind of another thing I'd like to see added, but this is more of a personal preference. All my other stands have a little pocket cut into them, and that is for coming up and sitting on body seams. I'll be honest, I've never done that, and I would go out of my way to not lift a car on body seams just because I don't like it, and I feel there are more strong places to lift. But I know there's stuff out there where you don't have another choice. I would really like to see this saddle incorporate that too. And in my mind, this is one of those places where US Jack catering to like the US government really shows, because they're not going to be lifting, you know, an Audi S4 that you can only lift on pinch welds. They're going to be lifting MRAPs and Humvees and stuff like that on these things. They're not really thinking about the guy at home or the consumer automotive shop, I guess, the way other companies are. So although I've never really had much of a use for this feature, I would like it to be there, and I don't think it harms anything for it to be there, and it'd be cool if they would add that. But otherwise, it's pretty much where my whining with these things stops. Overall, just kind of on a general appearance, fit and finish, weight, you know, looking at the welds, stuff like that kind of opinion. These things are nice. I feel like they're probably worth what I paid for them. I think shipping was like 30 bucks because I don't live very far from these guys at all. So I think base price on them was $150, $160, something like that. And I don't feel that's too out of line to pay for something that I do believe is of better quality than the stuff I just showed you, if nothing else due to this design alone. This double locking ratchet, I really, really like that feature. At least I like it in principle. We'll see how it works in practice. You guys have been around here for a while know that I don't like to usually review brand new tools, which is why this isn't a review, it's an unboxing. So we're going to use these things for a couple years, and we'll probably come back to you at that point with some more opinions. Or if something really goes wrong, you know, I'll be sure to get that information out ASAP. So that kind of concludes this episode. Really what I want to do here was just kind of demonstrate, if you don't want to buy Chinese jack stands, what else is there? And it looks like, at least for me in my part of the world and everything else, it's these. This is what you get. They do sell smaller versions of these, which are slightly less expensive, and they sell bigger versions of these, which are radically more expensive. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a first look at these with me, and I hope you're as excited as I am to put them to work and see how they hold up and see how we like using them and everything else. Stop back in and check up on things. As always, guys, I appreciate you stopping in, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'm Max, that's Saddington Bear, and we make videos like this all the time. Here are a couple links to some other videos we've made, and we really appreciate you guys stopping in.